What do you think about the current state of programming languages? I mean, Python has been the most popular language now, according to some metrics, in number of questions in Stack Overflow, and probably
it's a Dutch invention, just for the record.
Oh yeah, Guido is from
Guido is Dutch. Yes, Guido is Dutch. Yeah.
Did you know him or no?
I may have met him at some point, but it's many years ago. But it's also one of the last major innovations in computer science that have come out of academia. After that, it has actually all been industry, which is one of my big concerns with the computer science research that we see. That
and especially AI, I think these days.
Yes, but also because all the large companies bought up basically all the research groups that were available on the market, right?
It's a brain drain from universities these days, for sure. But cool. But still, Python has its drawbacks. Everyone is using it, especially for AI these days. Perhaps not for more large-scale projects, but at least, for more deep learning type of AI systems, that's the go-to kind of language. Yeah. Do you have any sentiments, thoughts about, Python as a language itself compared to, delegating more aspect-oriented programming languages that can be more modularized and whatnot? Or?
Yeah. So, I'm from the Netherlands. The country of Eske Dijkstra, who for many of you, the people that have an academic computer science education will know of the formal languages and the proofs, etc. And what I notice is that there are great concepts in programming languages that simply are too complex for the regular programmer to actually work with. And that's also what we ran into with aspect-oriented programming. It was a great concept. It was basically the third dimension of composition. Yeah, you have different components that you can put together. You have inheritance as a way, or delegation, if you want, as a second way. And the idea was that aspects could be a third dimension of composition, of functionality. Yeah. I warned you, this could be nerdy. I'm happy to talk about business. But and what I notice is that the typical programmer does find it difficult to work with those concepts. Yeah. So what I'm looking for is programming languages that many people can work with and be productive with. And Python is a great example for that. I think especially for small scale stuff. And if it isn't safety critical and you don't need typing and all this other good stuff, I mean, it's a great language because many people can actually do quite wonderful things with it. If you talk about other fields, then, for instance, if you look at safety critical systems, that's where you often still see people go back to C and C++. Very close to the hardware languages where you can actually see what's going on. So I don't have a strong opinion about what is the perfect programming language. I mean, there's enough religious wars fought over that one.
Isn't that a problem almost? It is turning into a religious war in so many companies, fighting about, what is the best language to use and whatnot.
Yes, but the problem is also that if everyone uses their own programming language in the company.
Keep the mic a bit closer.
Okay, sure. Perfect. So if everyone uses their own programming language, then how do you integrate the work from all these different people, which is, of course, the next challenge, right? Yeah. And then, I mean, you have things like Scala and other multi-paradigm languages. I mean, I haven't worked on programming language for a very long time. Let's be clear on that.
Do you program anything these days? Or
Very, very little. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I actually really enjoyed it. The only thing I didn't like was debugging, but and for some reason I always had lots of bugs in my code. This was before continuous integration and test-driven development became a big thing. But I'm not. So I'm not religious on programming languages. Mostly pick something that is fit for purpose and something that suits the population that you have within the company sufficiently well to make everyone reasonable, productive. Yeah. And to be honest, even though we fight a lot about it, if you look at large-scale software development, a typical engineer maybe codes 10% of their time, maybe. And the rest of the time is other stuff. Now, it changed a little bit with Agile, but those numbers were pre-Agile pretty common, that a programmer would spend maybe 10% of his or her time actually coding. So, and then it matters less what language you use.
Yes. You're very diplomatic now. I'd like I would like to hear some more opinionated statements here, but I can understand your point with that. We had some other people or guests on the show a bit that really like Julia as a language. I'm not sure if you have used it at any time.
No.
Okay. Well, let's not go there. But There is so many people complain about Python, and of course, you can easily find issues with the syntax or the GIL, global interpreter lock, and inability to do parallel programming or concurrent programming in a way similar to Java or whatnot. But still,
that is actually a good thing, I think. Oh. Most people have great difficulty building parallel software. I think the human brain is organized to think very linear, and having people program parallel is, I think, if you want a controversial statement, maybe, is, I think, something that the human brain is not well suited for. Yeah. And I'm looking for ways in which we can use parallelism in different ways. Yeah. Either by having compilers automatically identify what can be parallelized. Right. Or if you are in cloud deployments, often I have so many different threads and processes from different users or different calls to a website that I can use the parallelism in that way. But I still have to find good evidence that there is effective parallel programming solutions that humans can manage. Feel free to disagree. It's a free country.
But I can certainly agree to some extent. But then we can easily move into the more functional type of languages. And
so that's a good example. But again, I've looked a lot let me rephrase that. I've worked at lots of universities where I had colleague professors that were deeply convinced that functional languages were the right thing. And yet, if you look at the industry, they do not really take on, right? Yeah. They do not really take off. So clearly it doesn't resonate with the people that actually have to build software for a living. But a functional language is a good example because you declare and then parallelization is basically left to the compiler. Yeah.
It's like, I'm not sure if you used Erlang at some point, but that was a language coming up from Ericsson as well. That was purely functional and but had a really horrible syntax, not that dissimilar from Python in that sense, but it has a really nice engine, I think, underneath. And it basically forced you to have functions without any side effects and more send messages instead of imperative kind of programming sense.
Yeah.